Thank you for joining us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che for ARIRANG News. We start with North Korea. The country recently held a large-scale military exercise off its eastern coastal city of Wonsan last Friday, using missile bases in South Korea as virtual targets. The North Korean Central News Agency on Sunday unveiled a photo of leader Kim Jong-un observing the drill. A Seoul official said that during the amphibious landing exercise, spike missile units on Baekneung-do and Yeonpyeong-do Islands were included as targets. South Korea's recently deployed Israeli-made spike missiles with a range of around 20 kilometers can launch precision strikes on the North's hidden coastal artillery. For the exercise on Friday, Pyongyang mobilized an 1,800-ton Romeo-class submarine, a fire support vessel with 122mm multiple rocket launchers, hovercrafts, transport aircraft for special commandos, and several cannons. More on North Korea's upgraded military. Pyongyang has around 3,000 more cyber warfare personnel than they had 2 years ago, for a team of nearly 5,900, according to an unnamed military source. That may not seem like much when compared to the 80,000 cyber operations personnel in the U.S., but put the number of elite hackers side by side, and Pyongyang surpasses Washington 1,200 to 900. North Korea trains some 100 cyber warriors per year at Miriam University, founded in 1986. In stark contrast, South Korea, often the target of such cyber attacks, only has around 400 professionals in its cyber command to guard against such aggressions. Shifting gears now, local media outlets in China have praised the outcome of the two-day visit to Korea by Chinese President Xi Jinping that wrapped up Friday, saying it improved bilateral relations between the two countries. The state-run People's Daily devoted the two front pages of its Saturday edition to Xi's visit, which is rare for the daily. It covered all of Xi's visits, including his address to students at Seoul National University and a bilateral economic and trade forum he attended. Xinhua News Agency also gave President Xi's visit good marks. It said the visit has ushered in a new era that warmed politics, pushing the economically strategic partnership to new heights. It also said the two sides reached an important consensus to promote the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula by facilitating a resumption of the six-party talks. Korea could soon see a rise in outbound shipments of rice to China. The Agriculture Ministry said Sunday it will be willing to increase rice imports to China once it has settled the matters of tariffs for rice imports to Korea. The ministry said it is still working to set the tariff for rice imports amid larger efforts to solidify its position on rice market liberalization. China currently only allows some imports of Korean rice, citing a continuation of testing for pests and disease. Korea was allowed to delay the opening of its rice market under an agreement with the World Trade Organization that is set to expire at the end of the year. And on the economic front, all eyes will be on the Bank of Korea in the coming week to see whether it will cut the country's growth rate forecast and the interest rate amid a sluggish global and domestic recovery. But as our Kim Ji-yeon tells us, cutting the rate could actually make things worse.
The Bank of Korea is expected to slash the country's growth rate forecast by up to 0.2 percentage point to 3.8 or 3.9% this Friday. If that happens, it could be a sign that the central bank will lower the nation's key interest rate, which has stayed at 2.5% for more than a year. This comes as major financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund are expected to cut their growth projections for the global economy from the current 3.6%. A move like that would be sure to affect the export-driven Korean economy, which is struggling amid a slow economic recovery in the U.S. and sluggish domestic consumption following the Seoul ferry incident. Korea's mining and manufacturing industry shrank by 2.7% in May from the previous month, the sharpest reduction since December 2008. However, some say cutting the interest rate now could actually send the ominous message about the Korean economy. An analyst from Hanyang Securities told KBS News that the Korean central bank should cut the interest rate at least twice to boost liquidity in the nation's economy. The analyst said that if the Bank of Korea were to cut the interest rate to 2%, the rate during the global financial crisis, it could prompt major participants in the Korean economy to save capital rather than expand their investments. This is the opposite of what the Korean government wants them to do. And this is why the world's top investment banks and local financial institutions think the Bank of Korea will want to keep the interest rate the same until the end of the year. And some, including Barclays and Morgan Stanley, have even predicted the central bank will actually raise the interest rate in the third or fourth quarter. Kim Jeon, ARIRANG News.
Now, in a written confession released by the Chinese government, a Japanese commander admits to sexually assaulting and killing countless Chinese people during wartime. Lieutenant General Nosuke Sasaki reveals that his army killed around 3,500 Chinese troops in Xiangfen, murdered some 200 civilians, and raped 50 Chinese women in 1945 during the Second Sino-Japanese War. China is releasing confessions by Japanese war criminals every day, and this Sunday is day 4, and they will provide hard evidence of Japan's wartime atrocities. Monday, July 7th, marks the 77th anniversary of the Second Sino-Japanese War. China is expected to mark the occasion with a ceremony aired live by state broadcaster CCTV as a way to pressure Japan to change its perception of history. The U.S. is calling for an investigation into the beating of a Palestinian-American teenager. The incident follows an escalation of violence between Israelis and Palestinians that has followed the murders of 3 Israeli and 1 Palestinian teen. Our Connie Kim reports.
This video footage taken during Palestinian demonstrations Thursday appears to show 2 Israeli policemen ruthlessly kicking and punching a person. The person has been identified as Palestinian-American 15-year-old Tariq Kadir, who was at a demonstration protesting the death of his 16-year-old cousin, Mohammed Abu Kadir, who was abducted by Israelis and killed on Wednesday. Autopsy results have revealed the 16-year-old was burned alive. He is believed to have been the victim of a revenge killing for 3 murdered Israeli teenagers whose bodies were found June 30th. Israeli police say Tariq was among those attacking police officers during the protest. Photos taken of Tariq when he was taken into custody show how brutally the teenager was beaten. His face is severely bruised and swollen.
This boy, 15 years old, he's a dangerous? What, he has in his hand a gun? You found a gun or you found a rock? Why you hit a boy, 15 years old, in this way?
Yes, it did go through my head that he could have been murdered like his cousin.
The U.S. State Department has called for a swift investigation into the incident, saying it is profoundly troubled by reports a teen was beaten while in police custody and condemning any excessive use of force. Connie Kim, ARIRANG News.
An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. Truly a painful sight to behold. Well, moving on to some sports stories. This year we are devoid of Cinderella stories in the World Cup. Teams with higher rankings have simply pushed out those below them. Number 2 Germany booked its spot first with a 1-0 suppression of France. Lionel Messi finally gets to write a glorious World Cup legacy of his own as Argentina beats Belgium 1-0. The Netherlands sent the last dark horse team Costa Rica packing in a penalty shootout, and Brazil crushed Colombia 2-1. But having lost superstar Neymar to injury, Brazilian squad may not be the same. James Rodriguez's team may be out, but he is still in the running for the Golden Boot with 6 goals. With just 2 games left, Messi and Thomas Müller may not catch up with him in time. In some health news, noise-induced hearing loss is becoming more prevalent, but an effective cure has yet to be developed. Local researchers may have some answers now. Our Kim Min-ji tells us more.
Lee Chang-gon has worked in an engine room for over 30 years, something that has had a definite effect on his hearing. He complains of his ears ringing and he cannot make out little sounds.
I feel slightly deaf. It also feels like there's something in my ear. I can't hear quiet noises.
He is being diagnosed with noise-induced hearing loss, a condition where cilia inside the ear becomes damaged and cannot pick up sound. And with more and more people listening to music through earphones, the number of younger patients, those from 10 to 19 years of age with a hearing impairment, has jumped nearly 30% in just 5 years. Making matters worse, once the symptoms start, it may be too late.
Noise-induced hearing loss refers to a condition when the functions of the cochlea deteriorate. Once it's damaged, it's hard to recover.
However, local researchers have found that a substance used in asthma medication may help. In this experiment, the researchers exposed a mouse to 112 decibels of noise for 3 hours and observed changes in its cilia. They found that an infectious substance that causes asthma becomes active when exposed to noise and increases the number of enzymes that damage the cilia. The researchers then injected asthma medication into the mouse and found that the damage to the cilia was minimized.
When exposed to noise, an enzyme known as MMP3 is released, and this can lead to hearing loss. The asthma treatment showed a protective response.
When the specific substance is extracted from the asthma treatment, the researchers say it can be made into new medication that can prevent noise-induced hearing loss from worsening. The findings have been published in the U.S. journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
Moving on to weather, Typhoon Naguri is rapidly intensifying with landfall expected somewhere in Okinawa Prefecture in Japan this Wednesday. The direct and indirect impact of the typhoon should be felt in waters off of Jeju-do Island in Korea. Let's take a look at weather conditions elsewhere around the world. Well, that's all from us. Thank you for watching. It's a new week ahead. Don't work too hard.